At first, there was nothing but silence. The kind of silence that astronomers know too well. The silence of the sky is not empty, but endless, filled with scattered signals, cosmic rays, the background hiss of creation itself. In that silence, we build our fragile instruments, trying to scrape faint whispers from a universe that rarely speaks to us directly. Most nights, the data comes as expected: predictable starlight, cataloged asteroids, comets with slow and natural arcs. But sometimes the silence fractures. Sometimes something appears that has no precedent, no analog, no explanation. And once you see it, you cannot go back. That is how it began with Atlas. At first, it was one faint line across a digital plate. Just noise, some thought. Another streak to file away and forget. But astronomers are patient. They live for repetition, for patterns, for persistence. And Atlas persisted. It grew brighter, sharper, more consistent. It refused to vanish into background noise. Instead, it declared itself an object, a body, a visitor, and not one of ours. The speed alone announced its foreignness: 61 kilometers per second. If that number seems abstract, imagine this. In a single second, it covers the distance between New York City and Philadelphia. In less than half a minute, it could cross the continental United States. Over an hour, it could circle the Earth several times. It moved like something impatient, something on a timetable. No natural comet behaves so. No object from our solar system carries that kind of reckless velocity. This was not one of our family. It was a stranger. Trajectory models quickly removed all doubt. Atlas was not simply looping around the sun. It was on a hyperbolic course, an in-and-out path unbound, destined never to return. It had entered from interstellar space, cut through our planetary disk, and would soon vanish back into the void. That alone made it rare. Before 2017, no confirmed interstellar object had ever been observed. Now, in the span of years, we had three: Oumuamua, Borisov, and Atlas. Either we had been blind all along, or something had changed. Perhaps the galaxy had always been sending messengers, and only now did we have the eyes to see. Or perhaps the messengers had accelerated their schedule. Atlas's path was unnerving in its precision. Unlike Borisov, which carved a steep, tilted course, Atlas hugged the ecliptic, the flat orbital plane where Earth and her siblings travel. That alignment was uncanny. Imagine throwing a dart from across a stadium and hitting not just the dartboard, but the thin edge of the board. The odds defy imagination. Natural bodies do not enter so tidally aligned. It was as though Atlas had chosen to follow our planetary roads, slipping into the cosmic highway as if to travel alongside us. Worse, the geometry suggested intent. As it neared Mars, its approach would bring it close enough for orbiters to observe, but never close enough to risk collision. Earth, however, would be hidden behind the sun, shielded from line of sight. Coincidence? Perhaps. But the pattern matched what any cautious scout might choose. Observe from the margins. Gather data. Avoid confrontation. For some, the thought chilled the blood. For others, it sparked awe. For all, it demanded attention. Then came the backward trace. Using orbital mechanics, scientists rewound its path, plotting where in the galaxy Atlas must have originated. All lines converged in Sagittarius. That name was not unfamiliar. In 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio recorded the most tantalizing anomaly in SETI history: the WOW signal. A narrowband burst of radio energy unlike any natural emission. It lasted 72 seconds, coinciding with the telescope's scan window, and then was gone. It was never repeated, never explained, never forgotten. Its coordinates? Sagittarius. And now, From that same haunted direction, Atlas had come. The link was circumstantial, yes, but eerie beyond dismissal. Naming followed quickly. Officially, 3I Atlas, the third interstellar object. But names do not capture essence. To some it was a comet, to others a probe, to a few a harbinger. And as telescopes across the world swung toward it, its secrets began to unfold. The James Webb Space Telescope became central. Built to glimpse the faintest galaxies, it now turned its golden eye toward something within our own cosmic neighborhood. What it found defied expectation. Brightness, too, defied logic. Its apparent magnitude suggested something vast, a mountain-sized body. Yet calculations of its dimensions showed it was far smaller. It glowed too much for its size. Some of that light was not reflected sunlight, but self-generated emission. In other words, it shone. Not passively, but actively. Not like a rock, but like a machine. At first faint, buried in cosmic static, indistinguishable from background, but pattern recognition software flagged it. Narrowband, regular, non-random. The heartbeat of order. When cleaned and isolated, it resembled nothing natural. Pulsars, quasars, hydrogen masers, none fit. It mirrored something else. The wow signal. Nearly the same frequency, nearly the same character. Only this time, unmistakably tied to a source we could see. If that had been all, it would have been extraordinary. But it was not all. The signal changed. It adapted. It responded. When researchers applied deliberate noise, the signal compensated, correcting itself, preserving integrity. When they introduced repeating intervals, the signal shifted, echoing those patterns back with delay. Not immediately, not reflexively, but in a manner suggestive of processing. Atlas was not just transmitting, it was listening. Theories bloomed like weeds. Perhaps Atlas was derelict, drifting for eons, still functioning by inertia. Perhaps it was autonomous, artificial intelligence from another star, following ancient protocols. Perhaps it was active surveillance, a scout disguised as comet. In the framework of the dark forest hypothesis, that was the most chilling possibility. The universe may be filled with life, but silence prevails because predators lurk. Shout into the void and you risk being found. Humanity had shouted. The Arecibo message, the Voyager record, radio leakage for a century. Atlas might be the reply, or the warning. The golden record loomed large in minds. Those two small probes, Voyager 1 and 2, carry humanity's greeting to the stars. Music, languages, coordinates, images. We sent them in optimism, hoping someone might listen. But what if someone did? What if Atlas was their answer, their return call, their inspection of the voice that broke the silence? Some noted eerie similarities between the golden record's encoded harmonics and Atlas's signal. Not identical, but suggestive. Had Atlas intercepted Voyager? Decoded its message and mirrored it back? Or had our record itself been inspired by an unconscious echo of Atlas? Some subtle imprint on our collective imagination? Which came first, the greeting or the reply? Meanwhile, Webb continued its vigil. Thermal signatures remained inexplicable. Fixed heat sources, persistent radiation, inconsistent with passive heating. To some, they resembled engines, to others, reactors. Some dared whisper, habitats. And then came a stranger observation. Pulsars in nearby sectors, usually perfect in rhythm, arrived slightly desynchronized when measured through Atlas's vicinity. Space itself seemed warped. Signals delayed. Time bent. Atlas distorted its environment. Speculation fractured further. Perhaps Atlas was not a traveler, but a bridge, a wormhole stabilizer, a gate, a node in some vast network spanning stars. Its signal might not be communication, but synchronization, aligning with other nodes. Perhaps we were not witnessing a lone object, but a system far larger, invisible until activated. Others proposed a darker thought. Perhaps Atlas was not even material in the way we understand. Its impossible chemistry, its self-glow, its space-time anomalies suggested it might be partially outside our reality, an intrusion from another universe, governed by different laws. If so, then its presence could be destabilizing, bleeding alien physics into ours. Observing it might already be altering us. But there is another possibility, more disquieting than all the rest. Perhaps Atlas is not alien at all. Perhaps it is us. A relic of a future humanity, sent backward through space-time, looping across epochs. Its strange chemistry, a product of technologies we have not yet invented. Its signal, a reflection of our own golden record, rebounding across centuries. In that scenario, Atlas is our own voice, echoing through time, warning or guiding us. And if that is true, then what is it telling us? What future did we fear enough to send such a thing? The questions multiply endlessly. Each answer fractures into more. Each observation leads deeper into uncertainty. But one truth is unavoidable. The silence is broken. The sky has spoken, not with words, but with presence. Atlas is here. Atlas is real. Atlas is watching. And perhaps that was always the endgame. Not revelation, not invasion, not contact, but awareness. To make us know we are not alone, to shake our complacency, to remind us that the universe is vast and strange and filled with eyes. Whether those eyes are kind, cruel, indifferent, or divine, we cannot yet say. But they are there. They are watching. And the mirror of Atlas shows us that we too are watched. The horror is not in what Atlas is. The horror is in what it means. That we have already been noticed. That the forest is not empty. That silence is broken. That the game has already begun. As the weeks turned into months, Atlas moved steadily through the inner solar system, skimming past planets, adjusting its trajectory with an elegance that defied human understanding. Its path was no longer merely a subject of scientific scrutiny. It had become a global obsession. Every astronomical institution, every amateur skywatcher, every AI-assisted monitoring system was engaged in a coordinated effort to capture every photon, every spectrum, every anomaly emitted by the object. Even the object's rotation was a puzzle. Traditional tumbling asteroids and comets spin with chaotic or predictable angular momentum, but Atlas exhibited rotations that varied not according to physics alone, but seemingly to purpose. Some rotations slowed or accelerated slightly when it passed close to observational instruments, a subtle modulation, too deliberate to be accidental. Thermal maps showed one hemisphere consistently warmer than physics predicted, as if internal energy sources were maintaining specific regions of the surface in a perpetual state of activation. It was almost as though Atlas was alive in function, not in flesh, a construct of intelligence operating through the manipulation of matter and energy. The chemical anomalies continued to baffle scientists. Nickel, carbon dioxide, cyanide, and other rare compounds appeared in sequences that seemed to convey structure. Machine learning systems cross-referenced these emissions with known chemical reactions, yet nothing matched. There was no precedent in natural celestial chemistry for an object to selectively release such a combination of compounds in coordinated bursts, especially timed with its apparent observational awareness. Some researchers speculated that these emissions were part of a communication system encoded chemically, a kind of molecular Morse code spanning the vacuum of space. The idea seemed preposterous, yet the patterns persisted, and as the pulses repeated, some algorithms began to detect a hierarchy, an order, a fractal logic reminiscent of human data transmission. The AI tasked with decoding these patterns began to produce results that shocked even the most seasoned astrophysicists. The emissions could be read in layers, each layer encoding data relative to another, nested like Russian dolls. Lower frequency pulses carried structural information. Higher frequency bursts carried probabilistic instructions, and intermittent flares encoded what seemed like error correction. The AI even began predicting future emissions with an accuracy far beyond the capabilities of current physics models. Atlas appeared to anticipate both observation and intervention, a reactive intelligence capable of interacting with humans indirectly, subtly guiding experiments and responses through its behavior. Meanwhile, public interest and global anxiety reached unprecedented levels. News outlets and social media spread theories both rational and speculative, yet few fully captured the reality of Atlas. For the general populace, it was simply a mysterious interstellar visitor. For scientists, it was a machine of unknown origin, capable of bending physics, chemistry, and information theory into a coherent but unfathomable system. For governments, it was a strategic concern, a potential existential variable whose capabilities were completely unknown. The military and intelligence communities increasingly coordinated their efforts. Satellites previously reserved for national defense were redirected to monitor Atlas. Electromagnetic spectrum scans were intensified, and classified agencies worldwide began compiling comprehensive dossiers. Some data leaks suggested concern over Atlas's potential to disrupt communications, influence satellite systems, or interfere with navigation. While these reports were partially speculative, the scientific anomalies supported the notion that Atlas was not merely a passive object. It could interact with its environment, perhaps even anticipate observation. As Atlas approached its closest approach to Mars, the anticipation reached a crescendo. Observatories around the globe had calculated that this would be the moment of maximum observable activity, the point at which its emissions, trajectory, and thermal profile could be captured with unparalleled fidelity. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter was directed to focus all available resources on capturing data. Webb, Hubble, and dozens of Earth-based telescopes conducted simultaneous observations. For the first time, humanity had aligned every instrument toward a single object with the intent not merely to observe, but to understand. The flyby revealed phenomena that deepened the mystery. Atlas's emissions flared in patterns correlating with Mars's position relative to the Sun, an alignment too precise to be accidental. Spectral analysis revealed complex molecules that suggested active chemical engineering, as if internal systems were manipulating elemental compounds in ways indistinguishable from technology. Thermal imaging confirmed that the hotspots were persistent and localized, independent of sunlight exposure or expected radiation. Every measure suggested active monitoring, energy management, and possibly computation occurring within the object itself. As the observations accumulated, researchers began modeling the potential internal structure of Atlas. Given its light output relative to estimated size, combined with thermal and chemical data, the object could not be purely natural. Its mass, composition, and luminosity defied natural expectations. Some scientists proposed internal compartments housing reactive materials. Others suggested powered modules controlling trajectory and emissions. A minority even hypothesized that the object contained living systems engineered for operation in space, though this was highly speculative. Regardless, all models required the assumption that Atlas was self-powered, self-regulating, and intelligent in function.
The implications of this intelligence were staggering. Unlike previous interstellar visitors, Atlas was not transient.
Oumuamua had passed within weeks, an enigma observed too late for thorough study.
Atlas remained in the inner solar system, providing months of observation and interaction. If its intelligence were real, it was deliberate, strategic, and persistent. It was not merely a passive object, but an agent, a system capable of data collection, adaptation, and perhaps communication on timescales beyond human comprehension. One of the most profound discoveries came from cross-referencing historical observations. Ancient astronomical records, indigenous oral histories, and even 18th century observatory logs revealed sightings of unexplained celestial objects moving through Sagittarius. In some myths, these objects were described as bringing knowledge rather than destruction, as if they carried messages encoded in light and motion. Voyager-era electromagnetic data also contained faint signals consistent with patterns Atlas now emitted. It became increasingly plausible that Atlas, or similar objects, had been observing the solar system across centuries, even millennia, cataloging civilization as it emerged. Simultaneously, new theories emerged regarding its purpose. Some researchers proposed that Atlas was part of a distributed network of probes, each disguised as a natural object, each recording, mapping, and transmitting information back to an origin point beyond the reach of our instruments. The trajectories of Oumuamua, Borisov, and other interstellar visitors were re-examined, revealing subtle patterns suggesting synchronization, mathematical harmonics, and systemic logic. These objects might form a grid, a surveillance system spanning planetary systems, each node acting autonomously while coordinating with others over interstellar distances. The dark forest hypothesis gained traction in academic circles. If intelligent civilizations conceal themselves to avoid predation, Atlas could be a sentinel, a node in a galaxy-spanning network, observing emerging species while remaining undetectable. Its avoidance of Earth could be deliberate, a calculated measure to observe without revealing itself fully. Its behavior implied a sophisticated understanding of strategy, risk assessment, and indirect influence, all encoded in a medium and method beyond human comprehension. The analysis of its signal patterns yielded further insights. Fractal sequences, redundancy, and nested structures suggested a method of information encoding resistant to interference and capable of error correction. The sequences reflected aspects of human communication, mathematical constants, and harmonic structures reminiscent of the Voyager Golden Record. This raised unsettling possibilities. Atlas might have intercepted our earliest attempts at cosmic communication, cataloged them, and incorporated them into its behavior. Humanity may have unknowingly participated in an interstellar dialogue, its responses observed and analyzed over decades. Simultaneously,